How much is a house worth? This may seem like a pretty normal question that may have a pretty straightforward answer. But this question has been the source of endless headaches for SpaceX and the people of Boca Chica, Texas. In today's episode of Super Freaky Science, we'll be finding out why this question is so important and why it has bothered the residents of Boca Chica and SpaceX for so long. We'll also be figuring out why SpaceX needs a speedy answer to this question and why the residents of Boca Chica have refused to give SpaceX a straightforward answer. The story of a tiny Texas village. Our story starts in a tiny little village in Texas. The village is called Boca Chica by many, and heaven on earth by a few. It's a small coastal community with access to a lovely but secluded beach, and happens to be on the edge of nowhere. If you've ever been to public beaches and hoped that you could have everything to yourself without the needless running around of everyone else, Boca Chica is the place for you. Now, if Boca Chica has beachfront properties and is so amazing, why is it still so small? Well, the answer's simple. The area is simply too far away from everywhere else. Ever heard of the phrase middle of nowhere? That's exactly where Boca Chica is. Even if you wanted to get basic things like groceries, you'd have to truck out to a store over 15 miles away. Who would want to live in such a place? Retirees who have nowhere to stay. That's who. It's the perfect spot for people who want to retire from a lifetime of work and endless human interactions, and it's just about 35 houses. It's so small, we aren't even sure whether to call it a village or a settlement. Why is Boca Chica important to SpaceX? Now that we know everything, or almost everything at any rate, about Boca Chica, the next question is why would SpaceX concern itself with this village? Is there some space rock buried deep beneath the land in the village it's built on? Or is it something about elevation? What precisely is it about Boca Chica? The answer is more straightforward than you may expect. Almost a decade ago, when SpaceX was just getting its spacefaring groove on, it started looking for a place to build, test and launch its rockets. The company was already behind schedule on a lot of tests, so the search for a test site wasn't exactly comprehensive. When Texas gave SpaceX a $15 million incentive to settle in Boca Chica, the leadership of the company was sold. Boca Chica was quiet, devoid of almost all kinds of population, and had a negligible population density. Importantly, Boca Chica was close to water and was very close to the equator. Spaceship testing is duly done in areas near water so that failed spaceships can land in water, not land. And ships that take off from around the equator don't experience so much drag, so they don't need maximum power to leave the atmosphere. It wasn't exactly dreamland, but it was close to it. SpaceX went on to seal the deal and decided to build and test some of its rockets on the site. Looking back now in hindsight, SpaceX may have thought twice about settling in Boca Chica if they knew about all the legal trouble they would have to navigate to make the place truly theirs. But we'll talk about that later. The honeymoon period. For the first few years after the purchase of the site in Boca Chica, the residents were happy. The progress on the site wasn't fast and, at first, it wasn't there at all. The residents were happy that such a big company was coming to their neighbourhood and they would be able to see rockets get launched up close. It was pretty exciting news, and if we lived in Boca Chica, we would have been pretty excited too. But that honeymoon period didn't last long. A few years after the purchase, SpaceX started building. At first, people thought the structure was going up as a water tank or something of that sort, but within weeks, the water tank got wings, and people were like, "Hey, pal, it looks like that tank has wings, it's got to be something else. It's got to be a spaceship," and that's exactly what it was. The launch of the STARHOPPER. The STARHOPPER was a test craft that SpaceX planned to use to test some key features of the Starship, a way bigger ship that they intended to build. When the Starhopper was launched, it was a roaring success. The ship launched successfully and was able to land under the weight of its propulsion. During the launch, the residents of Boca Chica watched with admiration. However, there was one tiny, teeny, tinsy problem. The launch of the rocket was so loud that it shattered glass and ensured that residents had to be outside their houses to stay safe. The launch also started bushfires, and for the launch, SpaceX had to clear the highway that led into town. This was surely not ideal, and SpaceX decided on the only viable solution. They were going to clear the village. But, as you'd expect, the idea had significant problems. How would they even do it? How would they be able to encourage the residents to sell their homes and move? Some of the residents had been living there for up to 20 years. Why would they just leave their homes because SpaceX asked so nicely? The answer was simple. They wouldn't. After months of coaxing, SpaceX sent a deal to every resident of Boca Chica. The message was simple. Sell your house at 3 times the market price and move away within 2 weeks. Sure, some people took that offer, but some didn't. The ones that didn't have very good reasons for not budging. Some of them ran Airbnbs from their houses, and 3 times the market price was simply not compensation enough. Some didn't, but had sentimental attachment to their homes, while others claimed that even triple the market price of their homes would not suffice to get another home somewhere as serene and as close to the beach as Boca Chica, and if it did, the taxes would be killing. Now, before we continue, I've got an interesting wager for you. I'm going to tell you a super freaky fact, and if it blows your mind, you have to like and subscribe to the channel. No questions asked. Deal? Of course it's a deal. Did you know that fleas can jump 130 times higher than their height? In human terms, that's equivalent to a 6-foot person jumping 780 feet into the air. SpaceX tries to find space. This, of course, was terrible news to SpaceX. They couldn't move because they'd spent a lot of money on building the test site. Their only option was to pay more money, and they did. Some took more money, but many refused to even touch the money. The only other option was a legal loophole in Texas law that allowed the county and government to seize private property if the property was to be used for the public good. The Texas government was pretty amenable to using that option, but SpaceX wasn't. The solution would mean that the property would leave private hands and go into public hands, not SpaceX's hands, which was what SpaceX wanted. It also meant that the government could exert undue control over the property whenever they wanted. That was simply not a solution for SpaceX. The entire process of building and pressuring people to sell houses started in 2019, and till now, it's still not done. Will SpaceX cut their losses and move away, or will they force people to sell their houses? No one knows the answer to that, but I guess we'll find out soon enough. And that's it for today, guys. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons. Goodbye, and remember to stay safe.